Hi everyone, hope you guys are all having a great day today. Today's video, I'm going to cover the whole entire market in terms of Dow Jones, Nasdaq, and S&P 500, including the economic calendar. I do post these videos daily, so I highly recommend you to double check my latest video so you have the most up-to-date information on X and YouTube. And if you do find this video beneficial towards the end, consider dropping a like. It does help the channel, so thank you so much for that. Before I get to the technical analysis, I'm going to go over the economic calendar. And on Monday, for July 8th, 2024. We don't have much for the most part. We just have consumer credit at 3 p.m. And then we have CPI. One thing that's important is towards the end of the week will be CPI and PPI. That's for July 11th, Thursday, 2024, and Friday, July 12th, 2024. So more leading up to end of the week, the markets will be pretty much potentially a little bit up and down in terms of volatility. And at the same time, one thing is Wednesday as well, we have Jerome Powell testimony to the House on Wednesday. So it will be a jam-packed week. We have July 9th and 10th testimony from Jerome Powell. So it will be a jam-packed week. Just the Monday itself won't be that much. It's just 3 p.m. consumer credit. But again, I do post these videos daily, so I'll keep you guys updated as we go day by day. Now, in terms of the movement for the market versus in terms of S&P 500 and Nasdaq, they're pointing essentially a little bit of consolidation. This is based off the MAC lines. They indicate if we're in the bearish or bullish movement. Not always technically held true to the market in a way, because, for example, if the mega cap stock like Tesla, Nvidia, and all that stuff tends to move to the opposite direction of the market, then they could pull the market overall by themselves, up or down, vice versa. But if it's just based off MAC lines, S&P and Nasdaq are showing pretty much a consolidation, a little bit of a slowdown to the upside, but ultimately going to the upside regardless. For example, if you look at the one-year chart, MAC line does show more to the upside regardless for both Nasdaq and S&P 500. For the Dow Jones, it seems like it could be done its consolidation, and it's ultimately just going to be going up. But I'm going to be going over all those levels. First, for the S&P, or actually, I'll just go for the Dow Jones since I'm already on it right now. This trend line, it's an upward trend resistance line dating back since 2021, and this upward trend support line dates back since April of 2024. And the first level, before I cover the downside in terms of support level, I'm going to cover the resistance levels. We're sitting at roughly about 39,375 points. The first level we need to pass is, for the most part, about 39,600 to 39,650. And then the next level about that, if we pass the previous level that I mentioned, is about 39,900. So essentially just going off of the upward trend resistance lines that we've seen before. So 1, 2, 3, and that's about 39,900 points, give or take. Now to the downside, we'll see support based off the moving averages of 39,190 points, give or take, and about 39,050 points, and 38,890 points, give or take. I don't see us going down too much because, again, MAC lines are all just pointing up to the upside, not really showing much consolidation versus the S&P and Nasdaq. Now for the S&P 500, I'm going to be looking at the SPY, which is an ETF for the S&P 500, and we closed at $554.64, and we're creating all-time highs. The cap was about $55, give or take, and some change, and we've hit that. Now, we obviously could go higher, heading to 560 price point, but because it's showing more of a consolidation, and because it is a jam-packed week leading up to, for example, Jerome Powell speaking at the House Tuesday, Wednesday, CPI inflation number for Thursday, and PPI inflation number for Friday, the market could consolidate and then potentially head down a little bit, but not too much. Ultimately, I'm expecting it to go up anyway because the indications are pointing to the upside, and the market is already anticipating what the Fed plans to do in terms of the interest rate, where it's essentially either one interest rate cut or zero this year. Market's hoping for one. Fed is not necessarily canceling any ideas of one not coming through. They're just more delaying it, and the market's aware of that. So there's no shock factor, if that makes sense. And so due to no shock factor, plus, for example, Tesla has earnings coming up and all stuff, and Tesla just keeps going up towards earnings. So it could carry the markets as well, plus Nvidia and so on and so forth. So I don't expect any major downsides, just more consolidation for the time being. So if that's the case, we'll see limits at $55, give or take. If we do break that, then we're heading to 560. But in terms of support, we're heading down to 550. Again, the upper limits is 555, 560, but then the support level is around 550 and some change. Then the next levels would be more towards moving averages, which coincide where the resistance were before, which could act as support. And we're looking at 549. and 549, 548 and some change, give or take. Then the next level is 547 and some change, and 546 and some change. Will we go lower? In my opinion, I don't think so. If we do have quite a bit of support right about here where it's 542 and some change. We've seen multiple times support and resistance right about here. So the next level, the next thing to go over is the Nasdaq. So looking at QQQ, and for QQQ, it's an ETF for Nasdaq, by the way. We are all-time highs, breaking through everything, closed at 496 and some change. And the levels, that was the previous level, we haven't reached it yet, and I stated it was about 498 to 450. 498 to 500, and we could hit that potentially. But I think it's more of a consolidation, just like I stated with the S&P 500 in terms of based off the MACD lines. So we could get a pullback a little bit to the 492, and then ultimately come down to potentially the 487. It could be a little bit more vicious, so 492, 490, and then the 487. But if we end up heading higher, again, the 498 and 500, I don't think essentially it'll be too easy to pass the 500, just because looking at the Nasdaq, I forgot what number it was, but it was a clean number in terms of wall resistance levels. And if we pass it, I have to update you guys on X and YouTube for that case. But the levels in terms of support is 492, 490, and then this where we see multiple times resistance, and it could act as support based off consolidation here too, which is about 487. Could it go lower? Could, and then we would be relying on the moving averages, which coincides with the consolidation support right here and resistance, and that's roughly about 484 and some change, and then 483 and some change. And then the last resort is this upward trend resistance line that dates back since 2010, and that moving average, which there would be support on the way coming down, but I'm just saying as a last resort, 473. I personally don't think we'll see it, but just in case. And for the new viewers, in case you're unaware of what I'm talking about, is upward trend resistance line right here, dates back since 2010, resistance multiple times. You can see market was still going higher though, so it doesn't mean the market's not going to be going higher. It's just it's underneath this resistance line the whole time. In 2020 to 2022, broke through it, but then came back down as of recent, and it got knocked down from it again. And then here, where we're sitting at the 3-month, this is where we consolidated around the 2010 upward trend resistance line, broke through, spiked up. I believe it was inflation numbers during this breakout, and then this is where we're at right now, above the line basically. So we'll see what happens, but thanks again guys for the awesome support. Appreciate it. That's it for today's video. If you found this video helpful, consider dropping a like. It does help out the channel, so thank you so much for that, and consider following because I do post these videos daily for X and YouTube. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.